Hey everyone, so this is going to be episode 2 in the Raptor series. We're going to tear down the front end, all the suspension, and get the fenders off and stuff. This should be a pretty quick video and should be kind of straightforward. And it's going to be applicable to any like 09 to 14 F150 and probably honestly most F150s or trucks in general. But I'm not sure if there is a video out there that kind of shows stripping everything all in one place. This is going to be more of an overview than something like in depth, but it's more just to show you what the process is like and kind of to use as a reference. But I'm sure like Chris Fix or anyone else has more in-depth and technical knowledge on this stuff that's out on YouTube. So, all right, so let's do it. Okay, so I just got the passenger side all stripped out, and this is what we're left with. I separated into two piles here. The pile that you're seeing now to my left is, I guess, the pile that you're going to get rid of for stuff that you're not going to use on the conversion. So obviously mine's going to look a little bit different than probably stock because I have the icon set up here with the coilovers and the upper control arms. However, that should be replaced by the stock shock or stock strut and the stock upper control arm. So as you can see here, or I'll describe the stuff if you're not familiar with it. But so I'll start with the big pieces over here. This is the stock lower control arm, the stock knuckle, the sway bar. Obviously that connects both sides, but I just separated it because I had to do one side to get it all out. This is the sway bar end link here. You'll have to use new ones for that on the conversion. This is the stock F150 CV axle. And this is the tie rod. Oh, and lastly, the stock brake line. You'll have to use either an aftermarket brake line, or if you can find the OEM Raptor brake lines, you'll have to use that. However, you can keep a couple components, and that's my pile over here to the right. So kind of everything from the hub out can be reused. So, so here's the hub that is still attached to the rotor, which is a future problem, but those normally come apart, obviously. So hub, rotor, four-wheel drive actuator. That'll just bolt right onto the Raptor knuckle. Here's the brake caliper and brake pads that's leaking all over the garage floor. And lastly, the dust shield. I believe most of the stock fasteners can be transferred over to the Raptor Swap components. But I'm not going to guarantee that at this time. I'm keeping all the hardware until I'm done. As you can see, just for organizational purposes, I kept everything, I bolted it right into the stock location. So that way, if I do need that hardware, I can go grab it. Hopefully there's not too much that I'm going to have to go out and buy. Okay, next we're going to tear down the driver's side. I'll kind of give you the process that I used to tear it down, and any tips or tricks that might be specific to this generation of F150 that wouldn't be covered in just generic disassembly videos. So, all right, let's do it. All right, if you're doing a Raptor swap, my recommendation would be is you start with the fender and its components. For me, I think it's kind of obvious, but I'm going to first take off this fender flare, get it out of the way, and that'll free up space for me to get the fender liner out from the inside. And once the fender liner's out, then you can start unbolting the fender from the inside. So the thought process is you get it all out of the way, and then you're going to have a lot better access just to work on the suspension because you're taking the fenders off anyway. All right, so I'll get started on that, and I'll let you know if there's any major difficulties. All right, as you can see, I got the fender flare off and the inner fender liner out. Just keep plugging away on the fender here. There's a few bolts along the top edge here going under and inside. There's a few bolts. Let's see how your lighting is. Let me get my light. There's a few bolts up here that connects the front valence, which is this front lower piece, to the bumper. You gotta take that off. You have to unbolt the this bracket here. This whole bracket is part of the fender assembly. So you gotta unbolt that from down here from the valence. You gotta slip all these guide pins out of the headlight. Gotta get those out as well. So moving to the back, there's a few. I guess I don't know if you really need to take that off. Oh yeah, you do. You got to take this plastic shield off because there's a whole bunch of clips and stuff that tie it to the body. And in here, there is a bolt. It is somewhat below this this body line here, but inside there. So I will dig that out and kind of show you where it is. And there is one more bolt, kind of up here near the F150 emblem, but on the inside of the door. You just got to open up the door and unscrew it from there. Okay, I finally found that buried screw. It's located right there. You can see the head. My screwdriver is hitting the head of it right there. Kind of the shiny part there. Yeah, probably about maybe an inch below this body line, this bottom body line here. So all you gotta do is unscrew that, and then you have to literally rip and tear and do anything you can to separate this foam from the inside of the body here. So I used screwdrivers, razor, like a box cutter, and once you get up 2/3 of the way, you can kind of just peel it and it'll rip. But down here where there's not much fender, it'll just bend. So you got to work that foam loose. This is probably the most annoying part of this whole teardown, but that's what you got to do. All right, so as you can see, the fender's off. You can see this nice green primer that Ford used and this foam left over. So the next thing is obviously to start working on the suspension. This is not going to be anything groundbreaking, and I'm not going to go super in depth because there's way more qualified people out there that can explain this, but I'll show you my general process to give you an idea what this takes if you're interested. So I'm going to work outside and go in, obviously, and the first step is I'm going to take the brake calipers off, get those all out of the way. Rotors, if they will separate from the hubs, I'll get those off next. Dust shield, get it off the knuckle. And then from there, I'll separate the knuckle from the upper control arm. I'll take off the tie rod. And then I think, now I didn't do this on the passenger side, but I'm going to do it here. Then I'm thinking I'm going to drop the lower control arm with the knuckle, get that all out of the way. Then I'll have the shock hanging, get the shock out of there, and then lastly I'll just get the upper control arm out. I think that's the most efficient way to do it, so you don't have things in your way while you're working. So, all right, let's do it. All right, I'm making progress, and I just wanted to make a little update and correction as I went. So before I could get the knuckle disconnected from the upper control arm, which is pushed up out of the way over there, I did have to get rid of the, or disconnect the tie rod end from the knuckle. That was creating some binding in the system, and I couldn't get the upper control arm loose. So that was kind of annoying. And I remembered I'm gonna have to leave the tie rod on until the end, because once you get this lower control arm out of the way, you can fit a big wrench on the inner tie rod up here and just take it off without a special tool. So that's what's easiest for me, rather than having to run to the store and rent it or whatever that is. You can just put a big wrench on that and get it off. So right now I got the knuckle loose here. I'm going to squeeze the CV axle out through the knuckle, and then on the other side, all it took was a couple tugs, and the CV axle came out of the differential up there. So fingers crossed that I have the same luck. It was nice and lubricated and no corrosion on the inside or anything like that, so it was really nice. So a couple tugs should be able to get this out, and I'll next step is shock. Just one note is on the other side, I could not find a way to disconnect the lower ball joint from the knuckle. It's just like glued on there somehow. And it's kind of funny because the Raptor parts I got, the knuckle is connected just to the lower control arm still. So it's like, I don't know if it's just assumed that you can't get them apart or what. But all right, so I'll give you an update in a second. All right, we're making good progress here. I'm about to take this lower control arm off. And here's where I kind of had to use a specialty tool or go out and make sure I had the right size. And that's a 27 millimeter socket to get off these lower control arm bolts. It's just something I didn't have laying around, so if you're doing this, make sure you got a 27. I think for the most part, everything else is like 24 or less. So if you got a set that goes up to 24, you should be good. All right, so the lower control arm and knuckle combo are off. Just wanted to highlight something, and this is probably a good time to take off your four-wheel drive actuator located here on the inside of the knuckle there. It's just 3 simple bolts you pull out, and then you can graft that assembly onto your Raptor knuckles. All right, so I got basically all of the suspension out of the way. Just one thing I didn't really hit on yet were all these lines. So I got to see what this looks like, but so here's the vacuum line for the four-wheel drive actuator. This is the brake line, and this is like, I believe it's the wheel speed sensor. So looking up here, it looks like there's slack for the vacuum line and for the a wheel speed sensor. So I might just have to like pull those out and resecure them with zip ties or something. But because the parts I got from the dude down in Texas did not include either of these lines, and not saying that they should have, but I'll just have to figure that out as we go. However, the brake lines, I know I definitely will need longer ones. A hard line runs to this bracket right here, as you can see, this black pipe tube. So that's your hard line for your brake line. So there's no way that the stock Raptor one, or sorry, the stock F150 one is going to work. So that just disconnects up here. Yes, right here. And this whole bracket comes off. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Sorry, this bracket stays in place, and it attaches up here and kind of like pops out. So I'll be getting that out here momentarily. And I did order some new ones, so I'll throw those back on when I do the assembly, but that should be about it, I believe. All right, with all the old stuff off, I can start moving forward with installing the Raptor parts. I'm going to do a couple little upgrades and just to make it better while I have everything off that I think are worthwhile. So that'll probably be the next video. Hopefully this video was helpful for anyone that's looking to do this, or anyone that came just to see what the teardown process looks like on the F150. So no, this was just kind of like a basic overview and not super in depth, but hopefully it can point in the right direction. All right, so let me know if you guys have any questions. I'd be happy to help. Thanks.